I'm gonna say a lot of things here that's not true. Hi guys, welcome. So in my last video, which I will link here, I talked about Stephenie Meyer's new book, Midnight Sun, and in that video I mentioned that I wanted to suggest some books that I got into because of Twilight. Some of them are similar, others are not. I'm not going to do a long intro. Let's just get into it. So the first book is Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. One of my favorite things about this book is the cover. There's another, where is it? Oh, it has this like weird jagged thing going on with the books. It's like just jagged and looks torn. I love that. And it was like the first book that I'd seen like that. So yeah, Shatter Me is a dystopian novel about, what's her name? Juliet. I haven't read these books in a while, so bear with me. So Shatter Me is a dystopian novel, a little bit different from Twilight in that way. It's about this girl named Juliet who has a deadly touch. So anyone she touches, she kills. I can't remember if it's they'll get sick or they'll start being in pain, and then if she touches them for a long period of time, they eventually die, or like an extended amount of time. But she is now seen as a weapon by the establishment, the Re-establishment, which is a government organization that's basically like controlling the world at that point, as dystopian novels go. The thing that makes this similar to Twilight, one, it's young adult. It definitely follows that theme of like the supernatural, but it also has the whole like kind of being pulled in two directions, where there's two guys like fighting for the same girl kind of thing. For me, that wasn't the big part of the story, but I know for a lot of people, Twilight, that was the big part for Twilight, and maybe for this too. But for me, Juliet was the thing for me. Like, she was just this girl that kind of grew into herself, and it reminds me of how I am now, where, you know, back in college, I was so different than I am now. Like, I'm very much like verbal and very independent and very like opinionated and will say those opinions. And so it was nice reading Juliet and seeing how she kind of grows throughout this series and how she starts feeling comfortable with herself. This is definitely one of the top reads. And I think the other day I read the 3 books, and then she came out with like a novella, which I also read. But the other day I thought about this book and I was like, I wonder if Miss Mafi or Mrs. Mafi, I think she's married to Ransom Riggs, unless something changed in that relationship. But anyway, I was like, I wonder if she came out with another book, and it seems like she did. And I just kind of like fell off. So I had to go look into that and read it. And maybe I have to reread this because, you know, why not? The next book in the book that I think that people naturally transitioned to was Hunger Games. This is by Susan Collins. Honestly, I feel like most people know about this book. There was a movie, and the movies were much better than the Twilight movies. Though I only read the Hunger Games. I didn't get into the other. Yeah, it has S at the end. I didn't get into the rest of the movies. I don't know why. I think after Twilight, it became hard for me to watch movies to books that I had already read. So Hunger Games is also another dystopian novel, very different from Shatter Me, but still very, very good. It's about this girl named Katniss who is in this world where they basically have games. So they pick 2 people from each district. I can't remember, is it 10 districts? Honest, guys, please just do your Googles. They choose a boy and a girl from each district, so a total of 24 people, and they compete in these games, and the last person standing, I think, get all this stuff. Keeping in mind that these districts are super poor, the government does not take care of their people. If you're in the capital, you're loaded and you're fine and you're okay, and you're swimming in all this luxury. The outlying districts are not, but they're the people who have to compete in these games. Anyway, so that is the short of it. it also has a theme, which I completely forgot. It also has a theme of like this whole, oh, there's two guys that I have to choose between and they're competing for me and blah blah blah. I totally forgot about that point. But yeah, I think that was like a very common theme pre 2015. But yeah, I love the Younger Games. I read all of the books. It's definitely worth a read. And if you go, I found this book I found in a thrift shop. I always see Hunger Game books in thrift shops. It's just a thing. I don't know why. The third book on my list is The Mortal Instruments. It is by Cassandra Clare, and I think this was also made into a movie. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen it. Do you see a theme here? I have not seen it. This is supernatural themed. I wouldn't say dystopian. Definitely not dystopian. Supernatural theme in that, like Twilight, people of the humans don't know about the supernatural stuff going on right in front of them, kind of thing. So it's about Clary. I never knew how to pronounce this girl's name. I always just kind of glossed over it when I was reading these books, or I would just like say Claire or something. Anyway, she witnesses a murder, which turns out to be shutter hunters murdering this demon, which is their job. Their job is to protect the world by killing demons. And it turns out that there's something going on with Clary or Clara or Clary, whatever. I'm just gonna start calling her CL. There's something going on with CL. They don't quite know. It's interesting. They're trying to figure it out. What's so special about this human, you know? And from what I can remember, was there also this love triangle thing? Oh my gosh, I haven't read this book in so long. I feel like this also had a love triangle. I have to confirm. Again, common theme throughout these books. My fourth and final book is Kresley Cole's Is it going to keep going? Okay, I think it's done. I feel like the minute I start, it's gonna just start banging again. But my fourth and final recommendation is Kresley Cole's Arcania Chronicles. Poison Princess is the first book in this series. I think this is different from the other three that I've mentioned in that it wasn't as mainstream. So I think this is different in that, unlike Hunger Games, unlike Mortal Instruments, it didn't have a movie. And so it wasn't as mainstream, but still very good. I don't know how well the book did, because by the time I started reading this, I was kind of like out of the spotlight of other people reading. I was just reading books, and I started Kresley Cole's more adult themed books, and then she wrote this young adult book, or maybe it's new adult, but she started this book, and I don't think a lot of people, I know my best friend who also like Kresley Cole, never got into her young adult stuff. I'm sure within that world it got really popular, but it wasn't mainstream. So I definitely recommend you checking this book out if you've never heard of it. It's super good. So it's about this girl, Evangeline, also goes by Evie, who starts having hallucinations of an apocalyptic event. And she thinks she's going crazy, she's freaking out, and suddenly it happens eventually. And she realizes it's not that she's having hallucinations, she can see the future. So it starts out pretty normal, and it becomes this kind of dystopian novel thing where there are characters from tarot cards, and she is one of the characters from a tarot card, and she encounters all these other people who are characters from a tarot card. And it's her essentially trying to survive, trying to get answers, and trying to kind of like get to a better place. And again, as I'm talking about this, I think there's also a love triangle in this one. Clearly, either there was like a very distinct theme that every book had to have, or I just like was drawn to this. I think the love triangle doesn't show up until later. And I remember there being some similar themes to Shatter Me, or that series, and this series, and even Hunger Games. You'll see it. There's definitely like a thing there that I don't want to reveal with the love triangle, but there is definitely like a theme between those three books. Not Twilight. Twilight kind of was different, and I think Twilight kind of followed the trajectory of what is expected of a trilogy, but these were a little bit different. Poison Princess, I really, really, really enjoyed, and now that I'm talking about this, I realize that I never finished the series. Again, like, if you're an author and you take like years to write the next one, it's just hard for me, because by then I've gotten into so many other books, and also because I'm not in the thick world of like the reading community or the book community, I don't know when things are released, and so it's like years later I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that series, I should check it out. But those are my suggestions if you decide to pick up Midnight Sun with that awful cover, and then get this whole crazy idea to go into Twilight, and then you're finished with Twilight and you're left wanting more. Definitely those series. There's so many good books. There's so many good young adult books that follow this theme. Yeah, those are my suggestions. Please check them out, and then come back for my next video where I talk about more raunchy, you know, there's some sex stuff going on in there, books that is also a natural transition after reading Twilight if you are an adult. See you next time. Bye.